Hello everybody and welcome back to another modelled writing video. So today we are looking at two task 1 questions. So task 1 are the ones that require 150 word minimum and you get 20 minutes to answer the question, to do the write-up. So like a mini essay if you like. So we'll be tackling two of those questions. So if you are maybe preparing for your IELTS exam, maybe you're not sure how to answer the task 1, then this video is the one for you. Today we are going to look at a table, which is something that a lot of students are not sure where to start with. It can be a little bit intimidating at first, and also a pie chart. So those are the two types of tasks that we'll be looking at today. Okay, so let's start then with our first task, this table. Now, tables aren't as common, I would say, in the IELTS task 1, but there is a possibility, of course, that they might come up. So very good to be aware. Great to be familiar with them because you never know. Unfortunately, we can't predict what will come up. I wish we could. So the table below shows the results of a 20-year study into why adults in the UK attend arts events. Summarise the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. All right, so let's think about this. We need to summarise the information by selecting and reporting the main features. So not every single feature, that's okay, but we can report on just the most striking or the most noteworthy, the most important, the one that stands out the most. And we also want to make comparisons where relevant. So where relevant is really important here as well. We don't want to compare absolutely everything and contrast absolutely everything. That's overboard. We're not answering the question if we're doing that. And actually, how well you answer the question is a big criteria in what score you'll be given. So we always want to make sure we're answering the question properly. And in this case, we just want to pick the main features and compare the main features. Okay. So the table below shows the results of a 20-year study into the reasons why. So that might give us a clue at what we're looking, how the table might be constructed. Maybe into the reasons why adults in the UK attend arts events. Right. Okay, let's have a look then at the table itself. Here we are. So the reasons why are here on the left. So let's go through them. Desire to see a specific performer, artist. Accompanying children. Special occasion, celebration. Work, business. Right, okay. And we have from 20 years ago, we have from 10 years ago, and we have today. So we want to be, this should make us think, oh, we'll use the past tense for 20 years ago, 10 years ago, and then we can use the present tense for today. Right, so now we can start thinking, well, we want to group this information like we would group everything. In task 1, we try and make groups. That's a big part of answering the question. So the thoughts can be coming to us about how we could do that. And my initial thoughts, I guess you could group the years together, but actually I think it would be easier to group two of these reasons why together. So let's have a think. Well, okay, here we've got our plan, right? So we can start making notes. Now, a plan is so important in order to answer these questions. We want to stay on track. We don't want to waver. We don't have a lot of time, so we want to make sure that we are writing as much as we can, and a plan will help us do that. Right, so let's have a look at some of these numbers then and see if we can find patterns. So 20 years ago, this desire to see specific performer, 58, 56 today. So that decreased over time. I know it increased at the end there, but that could be a possible grouping. Accompanying children, this percentage increased. Special occasion celebration decreased. Work business increased. Oh, so we're starting to see a pattern here. How about we split the information into increased, which is we have accompanying children, and increased also we have work business. Decrease, we want to say desire to see a specific performer, artist, and then another one that decreased, special occasion or celebration. Okay, we can move this up a little bit here. Right, so we have our two groups. Now we can think about the overview. What could we say? We want to make a sweeping statement about the information here. We could say something like, there are many reasons why people attend art events. More people are visiting art events today due to reasons such as attending with a child, accompanying children, whilst reasons that are less common today than before include a special occasion. Okay. So something along the lines of more people are attending arts events due to reasons such as accompanying children. And we've gone right into the bottom here. I think some of the names of these groupings are quite long, so that's made our notes a bit longer here, but you get the idea. We can make the box a bit bigger if we want to. There we go. Okay. Oh, that nearly covers it. Right, so we've thought about our groups. We've had a nice look at the data, at the table here, the data. I'm sure you're thinking of examples that you want to draw from, numbers, percentages. That's exactly what we'll be doing in the write-up, which will go here. Full question here. And we've got the question, of course, and we've got some nice words that we can use. So, for example, verbs that help us describe trends and synonyms. And when you combine these with adverbs, they make for really nice sentences and ways to describe the numbers that you're seeing here. Right, so how do we start? Every task one, you might know this. We need to paraphrase. So a really important skill in IELTS is paraphrasing. Okay, so we want to just put this sentence into our own words. The table below shows the results of a 20-year study into why adults in the UK attend arts events. Oh, okay. Let's have a look how we can paraphrase this. The data provided maybe illustrates instead of shows the outcomes of research that spanned. It's hard to paraphrase 20 years, but we can write 20 years. Into the reasons for individuals over 18 individual, in other words, another phrase for adults. Individuals over 18 for reasons attend, go to creative occasions. Let's have a read back. The data provided illustrates the outcomes of research, maybe just the outcome of research that spanned 20 years into the reasons for individuals over 18, into the reasons why or for individuals over 18. That's okay to say why. Why individuals over 18 go to creative occasions. Another word for events. Okay, so it's really important to keep the meaning accurate with paraphrasing. We don't want to paraphrase so much that we lose that accuracy. So you don't have to paraphrase every single word, just the general gist. It'll be absolutely fine. Okay. So then, what do we do now? We need to say our sweeping statement to sum up what we're seeing here, really. So a nice way to open this up is to say something like in general or on the whole. More people are visiting arts events today due to reasons such as accompanying children, and then we could talk about maybe reasons today that are less common, such as a special occasion. Whilst less people are going to these events due to less people are going for a special occasion. We can leave it at that. So there we go, one S. In general, more people are visiting arts events today due to reasons such as accompanying children, whilst less people are going for a special occasion. All right, so let's now dive into our first paragraph, and that was we were going to be talking about, so we can double check our notes, 2 reasons that have increased over time as to why people attend. Okay, and that will be accompanying children and work and business. So we can say there are many motivations to attend art events. Some of which have been on the rise in the past 20 years. Let's talk about attending with accompanying children. Accompanying children has seen a dramatic, this is where we can use our words, dramatic rise. And now we can draw upon numbers here. So this constituted, what do we have here? 9% of the reason of the causes 20 years ago. And today, this has risen to 24%. Okay, so we're talking about accompanying children. Now let's touch upon work and business. Another area which saw a growth Another area which increased and saw a growth of maybe 5%, 6 to 11, was going for a work or business reason. This, we can mention the 6% at the start. This accounted for 6%. Oh, 6% in, we don't know the year actually, so we have to say 20 years. 20 years prior to today. Let's read this back then. There are many motivations to attend art events, some of which have been on the rise in the past 20 years. Accompanying children has seen a dramatic a dramatic surge. That's where this comes in handy. This constituted, past tense, 9% of the causes 20 years ago, and today this has risen to 24%. Another area which increased and saw a growth of 5% was going for a work or business reason. This accounted for 6% 20 years prior to today. Okay, another way of saying 20 years ago. Okay then, so we have tackled the reasons that have increased. Let's now touch upon the reasons that have decreased over time. I like this phrase, on the contrary. Not every reason to take part in we don't want to say arts events, maybe in a creative setting has increased. So in other words, they have decreased to let's think about the most striking decrease was to attend in order, the reason was because it's a special occasion or celebration. Individuals going to take part in a special occasion or celebration. That's what that dash means. Is the most striking for drop. Starting at, let's have a look, 27%. Starting the research, another way of saying 20 years ago, at or maybe at the beginning of the study, it stood at 27%. Presently, let's have a look. It's well, then it falls to 10 years ago. Maybe we can mention 10 years ago. Then 20% 10 years ago. And today it stands at 9%. Okay, so we've described this in detail, special occasion, because it's the most striking. Now let's just touch upon a desire to see specific performer or artist. People being inspired to go and see or maybe we can be more specific. People having desire to see a specific performer or artist isn't as striking, has only dropped slightly. It's only dropped slightly. Today, and in fact, today from the start of the study, and in fact has seen a 1% rise from 10 years ago. Okay, but however, it's still the main reason. Even so, it is still the highest proportion, the highest reason, or it is still the most common reason for people to attend art events. Okay, lovely. Let's read this back. On the contrary, not every reason to take part in a creative setting has increased. Individuals going to going to participate in a special occasion or celebration is the most striking fall. At the beginning of the study, it stood at 27%, then 20% 10 years ago, and today it stands at 9%. I think maybe a full stop there might be nice. People having desire to see a specific performer or artist has only dropped slightly today from the start of the study, and in fact has seen a 1% rise from 10 years ago. Even so, we're agreeing, so we can say it is still the most common reason for people to attend art events. Okay then, so we have tackled this table, and in fact as they are percentages, we can approach it in a very similar way as we would say a bar chart or a line graph, and these words really help us to break it down there. Okay, let's check the words. Right, so this comes to a total of 216 words. So it is slightly over the 150 word minimum, but there's no upper limit, so you can write as much as you can write in the time, really. So that is an example of how you can approach a table. I know a table tends to stress some students out, so hopefully you feel better after seeing how we've approached this one. It is the same way which we approach every task one. We try and group, we paraphrase, we write our overview. There we go. Okay, so now I think we can go to our next topic, which is pie charts. Now, pie charts are, I'd say, more common to come up in the IELTS exam. They're definitely a common type of chart here. So let's have a look at them today. And we've actually got more than one. We can tell from this S here. Alrighty. The pie charts below show the most common advantages and disadvantages of Bowen Island, according to a survey of visitors. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Okay, so we've got the same question here. They want us to select and report the main features and also make comparisons if it's relevant, if it's important. Okay, let's bring in the pie charts. Oh, right. So we have most common disadvantages: weather, high cost of living, entertainment, food quality. Most common advantages: the people, the scenery, the good accommodation, and the culture. Okay, so what jumps out to me, we have half of people thought that the high cost of living was the biggest disadvantage here. Then There's two high reasons that make up actually over 2/3 of the advantages. That is the people and the scenery. There we go. And then the other two are quite low down on the amount of people who thought that accommodation and culture were the most common advantages. Right. Okay then. Let's have a think about how we can group these. And I think because I was thinking if the key was the same, when actually it wouldn't be because they're different topics, but if there was some some groupings we can make there, then maybe we could do it via the key, the different disadvantages and advantages. But in this case, I think it's easier just to keep them and approach each pie chart as it is. So group one then, let's start with the advantages. I think that's quite nice. So advantages, we can talk about the fact that over 2/3 of people thought that the people and the scenery were the biggest draw, the biggest attraction for the island. Then we can go into the disadvantages here, where half thought that the high cost of living were the biggest ones. Right, okay, so on the whole then, let's spell this correctly. On the whole, our overview, holidaymakers seem to enjoy visiting Bowen, visiting due to the people and the scenery. However, high cost of living was the biggest disadvantage. So we're not going into specifics with the overview. We just want to make a broad statement there. Right, okay. So I think we can go to our write-up now. Let's go to the next one. Here we go. In which we have the task and of course the data here. So how do we start? Well, we're going to start exactly the same as we did for the last task and every task one. We are going to paraphrase this part here. Okay, so the pie charts below show the most common advantages and disadvantages of Bowen Island, according to a survey of visitors. It's really difficult to paraphrase the pie charts, so we can keep those in there. The pie charts demonstrates or show, we've got show, demonstrate, illustrates, provide information on, demonstrates the benefits and drawbacks, or benefits and negative aspects of Bowen. We can't paraphrase Bowen Island, so we'll keep that there. The pie chart demonstrates the benefits and negative aspects of Bowen Island, according to a survey of visitors. According to a group of, or taking into account maybe we could say the pie charts demonstrates, I was right the first time, the thoughts from holidaymakers regarding the benefits and two words, the benefits and negative aspects of going to Bowen Island? Maybe just off Bowen Island. Okay, let's read this back. The pie charts demonstrate the thoughts from holidaymakers regarding the benefits and negative aspects of Bowen Island. Okay, we've shuffled the question round there, put in our own words. Perfect. Let's talk about our overview now. So a nice way to open this. All areas considered. Many guests seemed to enjoy visiting this place due to the people and the scenery. We discussed that already. On the other hand, however, on the other hand, the high cost of living was the biggest disadvantage. Let's have a read. All areas considered, many guests seemed to enjoy visiting this place due to the people and the scenery. On the other hand, the high cost of living was the biggest disadvantage. Okay, so we're making broad statements here. We've not gone into detail because that is what we're doing now. So we're going to go into our first group, which is all about the advantages, this bottom one here. So we can make an opening statement. There are plenty of reasons to visit Bowen Island. We could go in with the biggest draw straight away, which is the people. Nearly half of guests, nearly half of the people surveyed thought that the people, half of the individuals surveyed thought that the people were the biggest, let's say, draw, which draws you in. And I like a bracket, 42%. There we go. Let's talk about the next biggest percentage, which is the scenery. That's the biggest advantage here. The next largest portion of votes went to the scenery at 35%. And we could talk about collectively how the people and the scenery make up over 2/3. Collectively, these two reasons resulted in over 2/3 of votes. Okay, brilliant. So we're just picking on the biggest advantages here. Okay, so the next two are almost equal. So good accommodation, we'll just touch upon them. Good accommodation and culture are almost split the remainder of votes. We could say culture receiving 1% more. There we go. Let's have a read. So there are plenty of reasons to visit Bowen Island Nearly half of the individuals surveyed thought that the people were the biggest draw, 42%. The next largest portion of votes went to the scenery at 35%. Collectively, these two reasons resulted in over 2/3 of votes. Good accommodation and culture almost split the remainder of votes, culture receiving 1% more. And we could say than accommodation. So we're contrasting, comparing, and contrasting there. Alrighty, so those were our advantages. Now perhaps we can go on to the disadvantages and think about those. Let's do a nice opening statement and we can compare the two. While there are many reasons, or while there are many attractions on the island, while there are many attractions in this, have we used this place, at this destination, there are also, we could say, several downsides. Okay. While there are many attractions at this destination, there are also several downsides. So we're comparing the two. I know this seems hard to compare the two because they're a completely different set of data and variables here, but we're doing our best. We're trying to compare them nevertheless. So let's jump in then and state that half of voters or guests, half of the guests who frequented the island thought that the high cost of living was the largest maybe problem or issue. Half of the guests that took part in the research believed that high cost of living was the biggest issue. So we're saying half of the guests, we don't need to state the 50%, we're saying it in a different way here, which is quite nice sometimes. So then we go to a quarter, which then brings us up to, yes, 25% believe that entertainment was the biggest problem as well. 25% thought that entertainment was the biggest. Have we used downside? Yes. Have we used drawback? Oh, potentially not. Was the biggest drawback. Together, they accounted for 3/4 of votes. Okay. Right, then we have, what do we have next? Food quality at 10 and weather at 15. Here we go. So, we could say something, we could just add a line like weather and food quality split the remaining 25% of the vote, 25%. And then we could talk about weather, so 15% and 10%. If you say respectively, then that's talking about the order. 15% and 10% respectively. Okay, let's read this back. While there are many attractions at this destination, there are also several downsides. Half of the guests that took part in the research believed that high cost of living was the biggest issue. 25% thought that entertainment was the biggest, largest. Let's do that. Largest drawback. Together, they accounted for 3/4 of votes. Weather and food quality split the remaining 25%, 15%, and 10% respectively. Right, okay, so let's think about, have we answered the question? We have grouped them together, we have compared, we've contrasted. It's difficult with this question because there's not a it's easy to mention every single percentage, whereas the question only wants the main features. So we have phrased it in a way where we're not just always stating the obvious. We can say things like 3/4 and half, as well as the percentages, of course. So that's a good tip if you're not sure what to do. If there's not enough data, you might think, but you can phrase it in certain ways to get around that. Alrighty, let's have a look at the word count then and see how we're doing for this one. So this comes to about 179. So it's a bit of a smaller essay, but we are still hitting that 150 word minimum there for this one. So I hope that has helped you when it comes to pie charts and comparing different pie charts. This was quite a challenging one actually, because they are two completely different pie charts. So you think, oh, how can I compare and contrast? I hope this shows you that you still can. Sometimes you have to approach them in a bit of a different way, not changing the structure, but just instead of stating every single percentage, we have to phrase it a bit differently, a bit more perhaps wordier, and less obvious ways. So that's a good skill to develop as well, because you're not sure what can come up in the exam. It might be a lot of data, it might be not so much. So we'll be prepared for all accounts. All right, well, that brings us to the end of our video today. Thank you for coming along. And as always, if you have any questions, just let us know. We like to hear from you. Best of luck with your practice, and we'll see you next time.